This is really a breakthrough, guys, that I want to tell you today. Watching tectonic plate movements in real time. This is groundbreaking, and they're using a network of 12 satellites to tracking these global fault lines in real time. That means they don't have to wait for the ground station, these ground seismic stations, to give them data and then to analyze the data and wait for it. But how are they doing it? Why are they doing it? And what can we expect from it for the future, especially for these dangerous areas and all the people that live along these fault lines, Pacific Ring of Fire, in Japan, in North America, the West Coast, and in other areas as well. So let's look into this, guys. Stay with me. It's really, really interesting. So we're talking about the birth of a satellite fault line network. And really, this is possible or has been made possible by an international coalition of space agencies. That's when really the world took a giant leap in earthquake science. And that's why I'm really amazed by this. So this international coalition of space agencies has launched a network of 12 satellites that are only dedicated to track the fault lines on Earth. And these satellites use the latest radar and optical imaging technologies to do that. They're scanning tectonic boundaries with incredible precision. And that's what we need, because even the slightest movement can tell us something, especially in these subduction zones, the Cascadia subduction zone, for example, or even also the San Andreas fault that are interlocked, that are clogged. And once they release, then it's going to be devastation. So even if they're moving only millimeters, it's important for us to know. So each of these 12 satellites orbits at an altitude of about 700 kilometers, and it's completing a full sweep of the planet every 48 hours. And this project that I'm talking about is known as the Fault Line Sentinel Initiative. And it began in only 2022, and it quickly became one of the most ambitious collaborations in geoscience history. That's how important this project is. And early data from these satellites revealed tectonic movements as small as 2 millimeters per year. So 2 millimeters, this is so small. The precision is incredible if you imagine that. This is a level of detail, guys, that has never seen before from space. And they're focusing on these real-time data. And by doing this, the system helps the scientists to monitor fault activity as it is happening in real time, rather than waiting weeks for ground-based sensors to process their findings. And for these faults that can go off at any time without a warning, this is crucial, guys. So governments and emergency agencies now receive instant alerts on unusual shifts in the tectonic plates and also tremors. So that makes disaster response hopefully faster and more effective. And as of mid-2024, the network has already tracked over 5,000 micro events that would have gone completely undetected by traditional seismic networks. So they're using cutting-edge radar for microscopic movements. It's called SAR. So at the heart of this network are sophisticated synthetic aperture radar systems that can penetrate clouds, and they can operate at any time, day or night, it doesn't matter. So these radars bounce signals off the Earth's surface, and then they're measuring tiny changes in ground elevation that could hint at stress building along fault lines. Really, really tiny, microscopic. And According to the European Space Agency, this SAR technology can detect ground shifts smaller than the width of one human hair. So 1 human hair, this is what I'm holding in my hand. You can't even see it. Smaller than the width of that hair. This is absolutely amazing. And every week, these 12 satellites collectively produce more than 100 terabytes of imagery, which then is processed by artificial intelligence to spot anomalies. So on the one hand, we have this microscopic precision, and on the other hand, we have AI technology now that is able to process incredibly fast and also compare these data with past recordings so fast. In milliseconds, they can give us a comparison and say, hey, this is alarming because that's what happened when this and this happened, right? This is what the amazing feature presents to us that AI brings to the table. So in 2023 already, the system detected subtle fault creep along the San Andreas Fault. And we know that this is due for the big one. So month before minor earthquakes were felt by Californian residents, they already saw changes. And can you imagine, guys, what that could mean for earthquake prediction? I don't think they're far away now from being able to do this thanks to AI. So such early warnings are crucial for seismic risk mitigation, especially in areas that are so densely populated. They allow cities to prepare or reinforce infrastructure. So SAR data is also cross-referenced with GPS readings to confirm the accuracy. So to make sure that there are no false alarms are triggered. So the adoption of SAR in this satellite network, guys, marks a revolution in how humans watch over the planet's most dangerous fault lines and cracks. So really, I think very, very soon, maybe already we could say that real-time earthquake prediction becomes a reality. And one of the most sensational breakthroughs from this satellite network is the ability to send real-time alerts about possible earthquake activity. So instead of relying solely on the usual ground sensors that might be damaged during a quake, these satellites provide an uninterrupted global view. For example, in February in 2024, the network predicted a moderate earthquake near Istanbul, and we just had something near Istanbul, a 6.3. Istanbul has a bad location when it comes to strong earthquakes. Buildings are not retrofitted enough, and they've had devastating earthquakes in the past. So February 2024, this has given residents and authorities a 90-second warning before the tremors hit. This warning was also confirmed by Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Management Authority. 90 seconds. That is significant. That's absolutely significant. This has allowed schools and factories to evacuate everyone safely, to potentially saving hundreds of lives. So real-time monitoring also means aftershocks can be tracked immediately and maybe predicted immediately. I mean, if you've had a big earthquake, then it's not a surprise when aftershocks are happening, right? That's when everyone suspects it. But the first initial shock always comes as a surprise in most of the cases. But what is it that makes prediction of aftershocks so important? Well, think about the rescue teams that have to go in there. They can avoid dangerous zones if they can predict aftershocks and maybe predict the epicenters. And let's go to Japan for a second. Japan's meteorological agency has reported that their integration with the satellite system led to faster and more accurate quake response during the March 2024 Fukuoka tremors. I mean, one thing we have to say, we still have earthquakes that are catching the world as surprise without a warning. So I think there is room for a lot of improvement, but it's a step in the right direction. So Japan says the satellite's data feed directly goes into their national emergency alert systems across not only Japan, but also 22 other countries. And more governments are signing up for this. And experts believe that the global earthquake fatalities will drop dramatically in the coming years. And since I am living near the Cascadia Fault and in a place that is also due for another 7-point-something earthquake, plus the big one, the magnitude 9 plus Cascadia Fault earthquake, I value this very, very much, because to have a warning maybe even more than 90 seconds once the big one hits, that makes a huge difference. Can they map hidden fault lines under the oceans? The San Andreas Fault, you see it, but there's hidden faults. Can they detect new dangerous and hazardous areas with this technology? Because really, the most mysterious and dangerous faults often really lie hidden beneath the oceans, far from the reach of traditional land-based surveillance technology and sensors. So the satellite network here is filling this knowledge gap. That's amazing. By continuously mapping undersea fault lines. I would have loved for them to have surveilled the area around Santorini, because then we would have known, is there a fault line moving? What is happening? Where is this coming from? Because the earthquakes were traveling and they didn't know, is this tectonic? Is this magmatic? Is it both? So by mapping these undersea fault lines and watching them continuously, and by the way, they're using this radar altimetry and also gravimetric measurements. So in late 2023, researchers from the University of Hawaii used satellite data to reveal a new fault system that is running parallel to the Tonga Trench. And they didn't know about this before. And this is an area that's notorious for tsunamis already. So it's important knowledge to know that there's another fault line that could trigger something. Because if you don't know about this fault line and something happens there and you get that tsunami, you're all like, oops, what's happening? So these new maps, guys, this is really, I'm excited about this. They're helping the geologists to understand where the next big undersea earthquake might strike. And that is important for tsunami prediction. So in March 2024 already, like satellite imagery identified an uplift along the Java Trench, just days before a significant 6.7 magnitude earthquake. They saw it coming. So this early detection has given Indonesia's tsunami warning systems valuable minutes to alert coastal communities, to get to safety, to get to higher ground, to get inland. So the ability to see undersea fault lines with this system in real time is also revolutionizing tsunami science and tsunami warning systems. It's saving lives across the Pacific Rim, the Pacific Ring of Fire. And then, of course, with this system and the knowledge that they're gaining, they can also update the global seismic hazard maps so that people know what they're living on. These maps also guide building codes, for example, and insurance rates. I don't care so much about insurance rates, but building codes. That supports urban safety and urban planning. Maybe do not build right on top of the fault line. if you know that there is a fault line. Because a lot of major cities often sit on top of dangerous fault lines because when the cities were founded and built, they didn't know. For these cities now, especially, earthquake prediction is a top priority for urban planners. The satellite networks provide daily data on ground deformation around cities, for example, like Los Angeles, Tokyo, Santiago, and Tehran. In 2024, data revealed slow-moving land subsidence in Mexico City. Oops. That has prompted authorities to reinforce critical bridges and metro lines because they think something's coming. So the information is delivered via very easy to read color-coded maps that highlight areas of risk. That allows city officials and engineers to act before these cracks and movements become disasters. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing, guys. Maybe in a few years, we don't need to worry about the big one anymore. Yes, there's going to be destruction, but maybe we do not need to fear for our lives anymore because we can get to safety. Of course, 90 seconds is still critical. Wouldn't it be great if they could detect it like days ahead? That's the goal I think that they have. According to the US Geological Survey, urban infrastructure losses from earthquakes could be reduced by 30% if at-risk structures are identified ahead of time and strengthened in time. I mean, the problem is, in many cities, we already know where these structures are and nothing's still happening. I've reported about this in Victoria, BC. It's in Vancouver, Los Angeles, Portland, big old brick houses. Nothing's happening. They will collapse. They will cause disaster. We know it at Campi Flegrei. At least they're starting, but basically whole Naples has these old structures that basically only lean on each other. So, and that's kind of the bad part that I really don't like that much. The insurance companies are also using these satellite data to adjust premiums based on up to the minute risk assessments. So of course your rate will go up if the satellite system detects a fault line or some danger underneath your house. But on the other hand, you can also hopefully in the future use that system to maybe not buy a house where it's so risky. So they're hoping that by integrating this data in smart city platforms, municipalities can automate emergency responses and resource distribution. So the result would be a smarter, safer, and more resilient city for millions of inhabitants. Hopefully this is becoming a reality and more sophisticated very, very soon. What about the other guys? I mean, that we're always reporting about on this channel. Volcanoes. Volcanic eruptions come with earthquakes, with land rise, and changes in the ground. So they should be able to predict something here too, right? Yes, this system is enhancing volcanic eruption warnings, which is also crucial. Pacific Ring of Fire has the most volcanoes. Also critical for supervolcanoes, Yellowstone, Campi Flegrei, and many others. Earthquakes are the primary focus of this system, but the satellite network also keeps watch over more than 1,500 active volcanoes worldwide. So they are tracking the ground swelling and also thermal anomalies, and this is also cool. So scientists can spot signs of impending eruptions. So in April 2024, the satellites detected unusual inflation at Mount Etna in Italy. That has prompted the Italian Civil Protection Department to issue an early warning. And only 2 days later, a minor eruption occurred at Mount Etna. Thankfully, no injuries were reported thanks to preemptive evacuations. And volcanologists now receive daily updates, which allows them to monitor changes that would be invisible from the ground. And this real-time data stream has been especially valuable in remote areas that do not have a lot of ground surveillance stations, regions like Kamchatka and the Aleutian Islands. So the network has already helped prevent 2 major aviation incidents in 2023 by warning airlines about ash plumes before they reached busy flight path. This is another sector. Could it make aviation safer? So this capability adds another layer of protection for communities that are living in the shadow of the world's most dangerous volcanoes. So it's important right now that there's more collaboration between nations and agencies, because the creation of the satellite network has been a triumph for international cooperation. It has involved agencies from Europe, the United States, Japan, Chile, and Australia. So data sharing agreements ensure that all participating nations have access to real-time information regardless of where the satellites are positioned. The World Meteorological Organization serves for them as a central hub for distributing alerts and also coordinating responses. And so what has happened in 2023, the United Nations has praised the network as a model for global disaster preparedness and really emphasizing its role in reducing death during the Turkey-Syria earthquakes. And scientists from more than 50 countries contribute to the analysis and interpretation of the satellite imagery. That way they make sure that they have a broad range of expertise and opinion. And the network is also partnering with universities and research labs to develop new algorithms for faster, more accurate predictions. That's what makes it so amazing. I think it's in the early start, but I think it will and it has the potential to evolve very quickly. This unprecedented level of collaboration has broken down all the political and technical barriers, and it has united the world in the fight against these dangerous natural disasters. And the collective effort is setting new standards how the Earth as a whole can respond to Earth's most unpredictable threats, because it's all connected. And again, a very, very important key factor is also that they are now able to track fault line activity in remote regions, because many of the world's most active fault lines run through remote deserts. And we've even seen it at the Fentale in Ethiopia and the Dolphin volcano. There are not many measuring stations in place, right? So they run through deserts, mountains, polar regions where ground sensors are even impossible to maintain. So the satellite network now provides for us a continuous coverage of places like the Himalayas, the Andes, Antarctica rift zones. In 2023, satellites observed a series of slow slip events along the Karakoram Fault in northern Pakistan. They have alerted the local authorities, who then monitored for possible landslides. So these observations would have been impossible without this space-based technology, because that region, for example, is absolutely inaccessible for much of the year. So you can't just go there, repair your measuring stations, put them up or whatever. So the satellites, they have detected something else that's very, very interesting. They have also detected gradual movement along the Antarctic Peninsula. That has sparked new research into the tectonic stresses that might be happening there. And because of that, now local communities in these regions receive tailored alerts in their native languages delivered via mobile apps and radio broadcasts. And these data are also helping scientists to map the geology of areas that have never been surveyed in detail before. So what does that mean? This ensures now that even the most isolated populations are not left in the dark about their seismic risks or tectonic volcanic risks. And artificial intelligence comes in play in terms of boosting accuracy as well. AI is processing millions and millions of images and data points that are generated by these 12 satellites every day, and it would be possible without AI. So these machine learning algorithms, they sift through the data and they're instantly flagging suspicious activity like sudden ground deformation or unusual thermal patterns. So in 2024, an AI-based system detected a cluster of microquakes near Rome, also an area prone to earthquakes. And that's why I said various scientists all over the world can produce their own algorithms on how to find earthquakes, how to detect earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. An algorithm is basically a recipe. What do you want the machine to do? If you find something like this, then do this. So it's basically a guidance for the machines. So if scientists have different ways how to approach that, maybe they find different ways to predict, or faster ways or better ways. It's not one algorithm. So that warning for Rome has prompted Italian authorities to inspect critical infrastructure and prepare emergency plans. I mean, they should be doing this anyways. I wouldn't wait for an alert. But the good thing is these algorithms, they're constantly learning from new seismic events because they're also adding these data to their base. So that improves their accuracy with every update. And according to a report from MIT, AI analysis has reduced false alarms by a significant number, 40%, compared to earlier systems. So the AI also prioritizes high-risk zones. And what does that help us to prioritize these zones? It helps human experts to focus their attention where it's needed the most. So by combining these systems and the AI algorithms with the human oversight, that's how this network is able to deliver a level of reliability and speed that would be impossible with manual analysis alone. And that's why this is so groundbreaking. So the synergy is making real-time fault monitoring more effective and trustworthy than ever before. But the cool thing is about this satellite network that is also available to the public. It's not only for scientists or government agencies. So it's also helping to educate the public about earthquake safety and preparedness. So there's interactive maps and real-time dashboards that are available online, and that allows everyone to see recent fault activity in their area. So schools, for example, in earthquake-prone countries are already using this data in science classes to teach students about plate tectonics and disaster safety. Preparedness is an important key factor as well. In 2024 already, a global awareness campaign has reached over 25 million people. It has encouraged families to create emergency kits and evacuation plans. If they see on the map that the danger is really there, maybe then they act, because humans have the tendency to it's not going to happen in my area. Also, local news outlets routinely feature satellite images and alerts in their weather and disaster coverage. It has helped us a lot to see what's going on in Ethiopia with the Fentale and the Dolphin volcano, to see that there is a land rise happening, for example. We know earthquakes and related disasters cost the world economy over $300 billion annually, according to the World Bank. So this satellite network is also helping to change that by providing an insurance company and governments with precise risk data in real time. And it seems that it also has helped to bring down insurance cost. So in 2023, several global insurance companies began offering rate discounts to customers in areas with improved monitoring and early warning systems. So that's good. It seems this new approach has shifted the focus from repairing damage after the fact to preventing losses before the disaster even strikes. And it helps municipalities to use the data to prioritize infrastructure investments. Where is it needed the most? So they can target repairs and upgrades in specific areas. So they're estimating that every dollar spent on satellite-based monitoring saves $7 in avoided losses. And it has. This real-time data monitoring has already led to the cancellation or the postponement of risky construction projects in high hazard zones. So while this technology is maturing, the experts are predicting a dramatic drop in uninsured disaster losses worldwide. And this 12 satellite network is just the beginning, really, of a new era in Earth observation. So the plans are already underway to launch additional satellites with even more advanced sensors, including hyperspectral cameras and quantum gravimeters. So these new instruments will provide even finer detail on fault dynamics, and they will help detect precursors, and that's so important, to earthquakes that are currently invisible to existing technology. Boom. And they're saying that by 2026, the network is expected to double in size. It will cover every major fault system on the planet at least once every 12 hours. Wow. And researchers are also exploring the use of satellites to monitor landslides, sinkholes, and other geohazards linked to tectonic movement. Well, maybe they can monitor the sinkholes in Florida, guys. I did not know that. There's a sinkhole map in Florida, and there's way more sinkholes that swallow whole homes. And if you look at that sinkhole map, you'll be surprised. So maybe you should have a look at that video, because if you plan even renting in Florida, you should know about that. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. And all these ponds that you see there, they have been sinkholes. Did you know that? But if you see that map and if you watch that video, you'll be blown away. Maybe you reconsider moving to Florida. It's in the end screen, that video. You should really watch it. So the ultimate goal of this system is to have a fully integrated global hazard monitoring system that can predict and, most importantly, prevent disasters before they strike. So hopefully, as technology advances and international cooperation deepens, especially between scientists and experts, maybe we can coexist with that restless crust of the earth a little bit better and safer, guys. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave it a like. And if you want to support the channel, give me a little extra support, I have a buymeacoffee.com/silky site. The link is in the description of this video. And of course, thank you for the supers you're giving me here on YouTube. And if you'd like to become a monthly supporting member, check this join button here or the link in the description. You're getting lots of behind the scenes stuff from me. So thanks for watching. Be prepared, be alert, be safe, and just enjoy life, right? Bye, guys.